Let there be light, and there was light. Okay, so I've just really shown how two, the number two, is so vibrant, so dynamic. It has its way of really concealing its attributes. It's no wonder it has um, it has its head going forward, and of course it's got its tail, which the tail goes back, but it just shows back here. So you have, it's humble and it's dynamic, but it's not only like this in this symbol, it's like this in all the numbers, which is the 13. We are talking about 13. It has showed us how it transpires in the number 9, because when we do the word 11, which I didn't do actually, the word 11 equals 9. And of course, we see 1 plus 1 equals 2. So there is so much. But what we want to do on this presentation is to really show another way that we have been duped with the numbers and the vibrations, and understanding, really having clear understanding of the real functions of the numbers. We have been lost in a way of seeing and speaking and doing that does not really foster the essence of who we truly are. And for us to do this is to really unravel that which we have learned, for us to unravel and understand that there is another way of looking at our world or understanding, specifically the teachings of the Holy Bible. There is another way of seeing that can help us to embrace the other like ourselves. This is what the teachings of Jesus Christ was about. It's really when he said loving your enemy and forgiving the other person. And we can see that a lot of these hierarchical ways that we have been taught of by the symbols, or number one, sorry, number one being less than 10, for instance, because they have been things have been monetized more than seeing the vibration and essence of it. So if you had, for instance, $10 or £10, it would seem more valuable than £1 or $1. But that is a construct that have been set up to really direct our attention to the lower vibration, to the lower vibration of who we truly are. That is a condensed, or a dense rather, vibration, instead of looking at the opposite to that, the opposite spectrum. So what comes to mind, for instance, is an hourglass, just came to mind right now. So we have learned how to do this, and now we are meant to learn to let go of how to do this, and to see this start here, knowing that we can. This is the as above, so below. So it's really getting us to pay attention to letting go of this way, and now focusing our attention to achieve an understanding here. So this is the hourglass here, in that sense. So in this way, by looking at things this way, we would be able to have the perspective of both sides of the coin, so to speak. that's when we can say, as above, so below. Then we understand the importance of embracing both sides of the spectrum. It's as if to say that you only want to pay attention to the palm of your hands and have nothing to do with the top side of your hand. That would just be a silly thing to say. Or your left hand and not your right hand. These are the things that we are looking at here. Or you only want to think that your head, for instance, is the only thing that really matters. Like in the scriptures, some people would say, oh, I'm the head and not the tail. You know, it's forgetting that perhaps the head would not be a head without, not perhaps, there would not be a head without the tail, and that everything has its function, or we all are playing separate roles in separate times of our lives. So if you were thinking at this point in time you're the head and not the tail, it doesn't necessarily mean the tail is insignificant and you are significant, or that it requires a hierarchical construct in the way you operate. So, for instance, if we didn't have a tail, so to speak, that could take us to the bathroom, we would be in a sad state. So these are things we really need to be paying attention to. So for your head part, you've got a mouth in which you eat, you drink, but where is that going, and what part of your body would you need to excrete what no longer serves you? So should you not value that part of your body as well? So these are the things we need to be paying attention to. And that's why I wanted to say that when we look at the word first, for instance, this is another thing. I have a list here, for instance. Let's just make sure that we are looking at the time on here, that we're okay. Yeah. So the word first, so we have this as one is really, or if you come first, you are really, yeah, you get first prize, you have got the top prize. Of course, the race would not happen if there was not the last. So let's look at the word first anyway. First, second, I've got, so first we have 6, 9, 9, 1, 2. Adding these together, this is 20, 26, 27. 2 plus 7 is 9. So first is really telling us that it encapsulates all of everything, really. First is beginning. So you are the first here, but you have begun, or you are setting, or you are the significance of a new cycle. So when you come first, or we are talking about first, this is the beginning of a cycle. So number 9 is the birthing of something new. So second, second, which is 1, 5, 3, 6, 5, 4. Here we go. 9 and 9, 18. This would be 23, 24. So 2 plus 4 is 6. So second is 6. And I was talking on my last presentation, which I haven't named, but we see second, we would say would be 2. We would use the symbol 2 for second. And here, this is where it correlates with 7, because when we write the word 6, for instance, which is here, S-I-X, that gives us 1, 9, 6. This is 10, 16. 16 is actually 7. And when we write 7, S-E-V-E-N, we can see that 1, 5, 4, 5, 5. Adding this together, this is 20. So we can see this is 20. We could say 7 equals 2 here. So we can see how 2 becomes the second here, but it actually encapsulates all number 6 as well. So just to really show how there is in second, this is where I was saying again with Christ recruiting his disciples in pairs of twos would be really demonstrative of number 6. He was doing creation. Number 6, of course, which also equals 7. So there was creation happening here. We see in the story of Noah, he was taking the animals in the ark in pairs of twos and pairs of 7 as well. So in 7s and in 2s, so we can see the relationship here. 7 and 2s, and we could see the planting was happening there. There we are talking something new was happening there. The 9 was happening there because 9 it's a new birth was happening right here. Well, so these are things we need to understand, the dynamics of the vibration, the numerical vibration of these numbers. It is not as we have been told, but when we understand the vibration of these, because for instance, if we are planting, when a farmer is planting a field, of course, I'm not talking about the big machines that go on. I just know about where I grew up. We would be planting 2 seeds in a hole in the ground, which we were talking about the womb. The ground is the womb here, or the waters again. So there you were talking, this is what Christ was doing, planting in 2s. And the 2 we could see was encapsulate this. This is really, I will have to do a whole presentation on this, because I am seeing first is telling us there was a the first creation we know was of 2 sevens, 2 sets of 7 gods, and of course two sets of 7 gods were 14. And we see how the 14 gods have come to 9. I have showed this in my presentations where there were 14 gods, but the gods have paired up and then they have become 9. The 9, of course, coincides with the 9 planets as well. So I am just really wanting to show that when we understand that our way of operating in our actions, we won't be in this competitive dimension as people have been doing, and as we have been taught to say, well, you've got 10 and I only have 2. This is saying you can make your 2, you can plant your 2 and make it cultivate for you. So basically, the numbers are telling us the state of affairs in the sense of the cycles that are happening. That's what it's about. Christ had his 12 disciples and him was 13 at the table. So when he was recruiting, the essence of the 13 vibration was there, recruiting 2. And that, of course, meant we saw that there were the manifestation of the 13 at the table. So these are things that are important for us to understand how the numbers work. So basically, number 3, for instance, or the third, number 3, the third. I have to do this in different parts, but I really wanted to show, because I want to talk about the gods and their functions and how we can harness their vibration for manifestation of what it is we are meant to be doing, being fruitful, multiply, replenish, subdue, and have dominion. So there we are. This is 10. This would be 22. 2 plus 2 equals 4. So we see here how 4 is foundation. And of course, when we do the word 3, the word 3 actually equals 11. So 1 plus 1 is 2. Now, third we see gives us that 4. 4 is whole. This is where we see that 4 is telling us, again, as it says, the third, we would say, it's giving us a sense of position. This is what we have learned before. But how about we have this understanding that, like the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, as we have been taught, we could say when you become aware of the 3, which is 11 as well, you have set the foundation, the perimeters for whatever it is that you are meant to be doing. So this is something for us to really pay attention to and consider. So 3 equals 11. 11, as I have showed as well, is the first master number, which came in the 5th position of the scriptures. Nothing is happening without Mother Eve as number 5. Okay, so I'm going to leave this here, and of course we speaking of the number 3, sorry, we see that in the spell of Mother Eve, when she says let there be light, the word the letter L equals 3. That is foundation in itself. So the first letter of Mother Eve, which equals 3, of course has that 4th vibration as well, because we have been using 3 as that position, not necessarily position, but we have been looking at it that way as well. So in the word let, for instance, as Mother Eve, which is, we see that the 3rd position here holds the 2 that we have been talking about, which is also 13, which is also 4. So this is what we are talking about, the third letter of Mother Eve in her spell, when she says let there be light, and there was light, which is the 3rd verse of the Holy Bible as well. So we can see that a foundation was being set right there, because we see that 2 is here, and the word 2, T-W-O, is 2, 5, 6. Adding this together gives us 11, 12, 13. Just as it were here, 1 plus 3 is 14. So we see 1 plus 3, sorry, is 4. So we see the 3rd position, the word third gives us 22, which is 4. The 3rd letter Mother Eve spoke, which is 2 here, and of course 2 is also 4. We see that the 13 is really showing us the transition and the dynamic attributes of the foundation. So for instance, it's really saying there's a foundation, but there are different attributes to the foundation. If you were building a house, for instance, you would have the cornerstones, or you would have the steel, you'd have the stones, you would have all those things. And when we look at the word foundation, which also equals 2, or 4, which symbolizes the foundation, we could see that all the other things are attributes of that foundation. It still is foundation, but it's like different attributes of that. It's like saying a person, but then you have the nose is part of the person, or the eye is part of the person, or the cell, which contains everything, is of the person. So that's what we are talking about here on this channel. We want to be able to understand the true dynamics and vibrations of numbers in a new way that serves us in a way that we do not need to engage in a competitive manner in our operations, because this is what Christ meant about loving one another here. So if you speak of 10, for instance, the word 10 equals 3. 1 plus 3 is 4. We can see 10 as a symbol. This is just for example, which is also what Mother Eve, in fact, in the word let as well. So we had 2, 5, 3, which equals 10. So this is a perfect example. So the word 10, T-E-N, which is 5, 5, 2, also this equals 12. So this is where we see 12 equals 3. This is what we have been talking about. We can see how 10 is also 3, and as I have pointed out, 3 is 2. And of course, when we do the numerical value for the word 3, it gives us 11. 1 plus 1 is 2. So this is what we want to be, again, understanding. When we understand this dynamic, you know, wherever you are on your life's journey, you are okay. You don't need to be worrying. You are where you need to be, doing 10, doing masculine and feminine, getting your balance together, getting your 6 plus 6 together, which would equal 12. You are understanding the 2 sets of creations and 2 days of rest, or whatever it is, or we are in this other, we are creating now. You will understand that we are in cycles. We move in cycles, or species move in cycles. Everything is in cycle. Hence, Mother Eve has called us to say, come, let us make man in our image, after our likeness. And that is the likeness we want to be instilling in the new man that we are creating. Not a competitive man, but a man of love. Thank you. I hope you have enjoyed this. I'm sorry that I'm really protecting my voice by not raising my volume too much. Otherwise, I don't think I'd be able to deliver this message, this presentation, in its implicit length. So I thank you. I hope you have enjoyed this. Please share, like, and subscribe. And of course, spill over with love. Let there be light, and there was light.